Yeah, my name's Tasnim. I'm a Palestinian activist and academic. I have 2 boys that I'm raising as a single mom. My family's from Yaffa.
My name is Gary Foley, Dr. Gary Foley to you. I'm a historian. I'm from the Gumbaynggirr nation in northern New South Wales.
But then we have family who did stay in Gaza. We don't really have family in Yaffa anymore. The house though, like my grandfather's, the house that he grew up in, he always told us that it was in Yaffa. He had one chance in his life to go and see it, but he refused because it's like to see it with Zionists occupying it was not a sight that he could bring himself to see. And also because they were refugees to Jordan, obviously the people who are Palestinian in Arab states around Palestine, they have the least rights. So they have less rights than the Palestinians who are in the West Bank, who are in the Palestinian territories.
That's interesting. I was interested in what you said. I think, was it your grandfather who didn't want to go back and visit his home while it was occupied by others?
Yeah.
I've sort of lived for the past 50 years in Melbourne, deliberately in self-imposed exile.
Yeah.
And it really hurts me the few times I ever go back to my homeland now on the north coast of New South Wales. The reason I left there in the first place, when I was 16, the first, and my generation was the first generation of Aboriginal people in New South Wales who were given the opportunity of half an education.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of freedom, relative freedom of movement compared to our parents' and grandparents' generation. But when I got expelled from high school by this redneck racist headmaster at Maxwell High School, I left there then, determined never to go back until the place had been civilised by the influence of Gumbaynggirr people.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to tell you that my last trip up there, a white redneck walked towards me in the street and he said, "Ginnago," which is hello in Gumbaynggirr.
Yeah.
And that's my cousin up there. He moved back there 35 years ago. He was part of the Black Power movement with us in Sydney.
Yeah.
He moved back home, and when I left up home, there were only 5 people still alive who spoke the Gumbaynggirr language. One of them was my grandmother, another one was his mother.
Yeah.
And those old people had stopped speaking in Gumbaynggirr because of Christian missionaries.
Yeah.
Which is why my father hated Christian missionaries, Christian preachers of any sort, and which he instilled in me. But Gary, my cousin, went back to Nambucca and he taught those old people for the first time into passing on the language. And today, the language centre at Nambucca Heads is one of the best in Australia. The language is being taught to the local white rednecks on radio on a weekly. My cousin got a weekly radio program. It's being taught in the local schools so that the next generation of rednecks who hopefully won't grow up redneck now are learning how to speak. They, the other insane thing when I went up there, one of the most moving things in recent times was a little 5-year-old Aboriginal kid, Gumbaynggirr kid, started talking to me in Gumbaynggirr.
That's incredible.
And I couldn't understand him, I thought that was so fantastic, that these little kids that age are now going to grow up with their language, which was what was denied us, And so I still can't, I'll never go back there and live, and I intend to die in Melbourne, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I can very much relate to what it feels like to see your homeland, you know, occupied and you know, occupied by some of the worst sort of white fellas, you know.
Yeah, well, my grandfather passed away a few years ago, and he never returned, and yeah, like for us, we always grew up with the right of return as being central to the Palestinian story, because my family's story is being in exile.